why are Tennessee fans not more excited about the basketball team that happens to be one of the best in the nation, no matter if you go by record or ranking? Explain to me why, and give me some insight on the message board. Why does it seem like you're not excited about Tennessee basketball? Because I don't know what more you want. And Caleb was ahead of the curve on this, and he has been a couple of different times, which is why I love working with him. He thought that this basketball team would be better than last year's Dalton Connect team. Caleb, I'm not agreeing, but I'm leaning towards where you are. And not only a better team, but a more well-rounded team. I'm not sure that Tennessee beats Auburn last year at home without that Dalton Connect 40-point outing. But I'm not sure they're in that position with this team where they need one man to take over. So, Caleb, this is a basketball team that fans should be very excited about, but I just don't feel it, and I can't explain why.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same way, and I don't get it. I mean, they are off to their best start in over 100 years, okay? And, well, if they win tonight, we'll match their best start in school history. They have just finished their fifth week atop their fifth straight week, number one in the APN coaches poll. Before this year, Dave, did you guess how many weeks they've been number one in the APN coaches poll?
2?
5. But still, they matched their total in history in just the last 5 weeks. Okay. They have one of their most exciting players maybe ever. I mean, I'm willing to say Chaz Lanier is as exciting as any basketball player in Tennessee history with the way he plays. And they are coming off an Elite Eight run, and you just kind of feel a sense of and people are going to bring up, and I get it, people are going to bring up, well, it doesn't have the same pizzazz football does. Nobody ever expects Tennessee basketball to be on Tennessee football's level. I've seen more enthusiasm behind Tennessee basketball, though, than I see this year. The first year under Bruce Pearl, Dave, they never reached number one. They never reached the top 5. They reached the top 10 once. The excitement was way higher than it is this year.
Okay, but what's the difference, though? The difference is that team had Bruce Pearl that would stand up on tables in common eating areas for students, get them excited about basketball, that would dress up and drag like that. No, he didn't dress up and drag like that. But he did paint his chest and all that. Cheered and he did it all. So Rick Barnes is never going to do that. So are we just where we are in terms of Caleb? Rick Barnes is not going to be Bruce Pearl. He may field a fantastic team. You don't have a Dalton Connect that is as versatile. I really like Chaz Lanier, don't get me wrong, but I think you would agree Dalton was better taking it to the rack. You don't have everything you want, but come on. Quit being babies about this thing. I mean, you have an incredible basketball program, and I believe that Tennessee is second to only Kentucky in terms of basketball history. Well, I guess you would have to give it to Florida because of the Billy Donovan run. So maybe that.
And Arkansas because of the Nolan run.
Okay. But in terms of all-time wins in the SEC, I believe they're second, Caleb, to Kentucky. So I don't understand why this team is not more beloved. I wonder how much of this is NIL. You can restock a football team and still have the same key players, right? I mean, they're not going to be one and done most of the time.
Right.
But with NIL, you could flip a roster each and every year. And I wonder what that does for Tennessee basketball fans that want to get behind people, but you're not going to have Chris Lofton for 4 years anymore, guys. I mean, it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, you know what? I think it goes a little deeper than that. I honestly think there's 2 things going on at play. All right, the first one is, and I want to know your thoughts. You've been covering Tennessee for a while. I think there's a little bit of a.
Caleb always likes to work in how old I am, but that's okay.
Well, I'm going to give you a quick example. Remember how unappreciative Tennessee football fans were to be in the SEC title game in 2001 after they beat Florida?
Ooh, that's a out of left field, but a good comparison.
Yeah, they were so used to success, they just like threw it aside. And now, then you got a college football playoff game this past year, and Tennessee fans filled up the horseshoe, desperate, hungry for success. I think they're taking the basketball success for granted. I mean, this program just made the Elite Eight, won the SEC regular season titles, made 2 straight Sweet 16s. I think that's part of it. I think the other part, and this is a big one. Well, it's threefold actually, but the next two are tied. One is, I think people are tired of any Rick Barnes regular season success. I think people have decided with Rick Barnes, all that matters is what he does in March, because Rick Barnes has accomplished everything you possibly can in a regular season. So no one's that interested in it.
Okay, I think you're right, but I also have another theory. Today's tough question brought to you by Banks & Jones. Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. You know what I think it is?
I'm ready. Hit me.
I think it's the college football playoff. Okay, now work with me for a second. I have several friends, not one or two, Caleb, but several friends that, and fill in the message board. I want to hear why you think Tennessee fans aren't behind this very, very good basketball team. I think it's the college football playoff, because I have several friends that it's not even a question. If they held an Ottawa Bowl, they would go to Ottawa as one of their 2 vacations. They go in the summer to the beach, and they go wherever the bowl game is. So I don't know about you, but when Tennessee lost that game against Ohio State, it felt like more than a loss. It felt like the rug had been pulled out from under the season, and boom, it's over. And you've got 2 weeks that you're used to talking about football, how Bobby Joe's doing in bowl practice, the fact that Nico came early to bowl practice, that you've got all these fun football storylines, and then bam, it's gone with 10 days left in the calendar year. I think it's that. I think that, and I will say this, and I want every fan out there, every Tennessee fan, to know that I love you. You make this possible, but you're being a little bit whiny. Last year, what happened, Caleb? A baseball national championship, an Elite Eight, and you finish in the top 12 of all college football teams. If you do that every year, you're one of the best programs in the nation.
Yeah, I totally agree. I absolutely agree. I think
I should say best departments in the nation. Excuse me.
I think it reaches another layer of depth, which is, I got to say that I warned you. I'm warning you this now of the college football playoff. College basketball is a little bit different from when Bruce Pearl was coaching Tennessee to where it is now. They have consistently gone. Now, the NCAA tournament's only 4 teams bigger, but they've consistently gone out of their way to make everything about March. When you make everything about a postseason, what have I told you happens, Dave? You devalue the regular season. And college basketball has branded itself as March. It's all about March Madness. I mean, I'll debate people all the time about college football being better than college basketball. What college basketball people throw at me? They'll be like, "Well, March Madness is so great," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's 3 weeks."
Okay, Caleb. Usually I could roll with that, but I can't roll with that now because Tennessee got behind the basketball team last January. They had a likable player. You're like, man, how good can he be? And but the difference is you were coming off what was considered a successful football season. I just think this hangover with football is the biggest factor. I think there are some people that are just like, golly, man, I've invested all this time, and now I'm going to invest in a guy, Rick Barnes, that's only made the Final Four once, and he's coached for 800 years. Man, I think it's a combination of everything, but I'm going to set it up as a poll question. Why are fans not behind the basketball Vols? Football hangover. And then how about Rick Barnes' lack of success? What else is there? What else is there? I see Derek.
How about this? You say football hangover. I mean, I know this wouldn't play last year because they were very excited about the program last year. How about just recent basketball success? This is weird to say, but because of the success they had last year, they don't really care about the regular season this year. Think about it this way. I'll give it to you this way. Do you remember? And I'll do another football reference. Do you remember when Alabama lost to Florida in the 2008 SEC title game in football?
Yes.
Nick Saban's second year. Did you not notice the next year they circled the SEC title game? That's all they were thinking about. The whole year they were playing that season was the SEC title. And that's why they almost lost to Tennessee and Lane Kiffin that year too. Because they just were looking ahead to Atlanta pretty much. And that showed because when they got to Atlanta, they beat the brakes off Florida and Urban Meyer faked a heart attack. But before that happened,
it's funny because it's true.
It is. Alabama that whole season was just basic. And Dave, you remember you covered Tennessee that year, I know, but I'm sure you were seeing Alabama covering them to a degree. Were they not every week let's just get past this game? We just want to get to the SEC title. We just want to get there because we've already that's why they almost lost to Tennessee. Yep. And I think Tennessee's that way with March now under Rick Barnes. I think this Tennessee team, I think the fan base is basically like, let's just get to March. We've won the SEC regular season. We've made the Elite Eight. We've won the SEC tournament. We're tired of accomplishing everything but making a Final Four with this program. I think that's how Tennessee fans are feeling at this point.
Gene says, I think we are behind the basketball team. David says Tennessee is a football team. I think he means school. They will support basketball, men's and women's, plus baseball if they are good. David says football school. Yeah. So and maybe that's just it. So here's what I did. I made a poll question, and I want you to know that one of the choices I do not at all subscribe to, because I think Zakai Ziegler, and I'm actually going to write a column about this, Caleb. Who's the most likable Tennessee athlete before Zakai Ziegler? Who is more likable than him? Based off what he's done. He's got a little bit of the short man thing going on too. He hustles. He knows I don't know that there's a guy recently that in any sport that should be more beloved than him. But why are fans not behind the
You're going to have to stop that and accept Juwan Jennings as a beloved Vol. You are going to have to come to grips with the fact that Tennessee fans love Juwan Jennings, and they should.
Okay, I'll address him in my column. Maybe he's the last one.
Trey Smith too. Also is beloved.
Yeah, but a lineman, he's not touching the ball every time. Like, say hi. So, I mean, he should be. But why are fans not behind the basketball Vols? Football hangover, Rick Barnes' lack of tourney wins, no likable star, or I'm all in. Okay, well, 70% of our audience so far says I'm all in. 30% says football hangover. But for some reason, it doesn't quite feel like Tennessee fans are completely all in, but you should be. Caleb, at the end of the day, let's pretend that you're a head coach. Which team would you prefer from the beginning of the year? Last year's basketball team or this year's basketball team? If you're Rick Barnes, which team do you feel like gives you the better opportunity for success?
This is not even a debate, bro. It's this year's basketball team. This year's basketball team is freaking amazing. Like, I'm sorry. It's this year's basketball team.
I can't argue with that. I can't argue with it at all. So go ahead and vote in the poll question. We're going to get Caleb a lozenge. And do you feel
whatever.